So the theme today, we're going to try and make this a very practical, juicy, uh, helpful start to the year session. And the theme, as we spoke about, is that we want to forget resolutions and we want to get back to commitment to accomplish our goals. And the reason that that is important is a couple of reasons. And I'm just going to walk you guys through the psychology of why resolutions don't work, the behavior change science-based sort of formula. I don't believe in a formula for success, but the formula of what it means to set goals and hit goals. And then I want us to get into an actionable conversation and work session with each other to figure out how to apply this to each of our own unique realities. So that's the format I want to go through. I'll probably talk for about 5 minutes, if that's okay, work through the psychology and the behavior change science-based reality of the topic, and then move us into some actions and some conversation. Does that work for everybody? Okay. So first of all, let's just do in the chat, if anyone is willing to participate with me. If you are so willing to throw into chat, can anyone guess why resolutions don't work? We have this massive pop culture obsession with New Year's resolutions. New year, new start. New year, have a resolution. New year, new me. New year, new you. New year, new goals. There is this like it's almost like I always say I love Christmas. I'm a very big Christmas person. And I love it because it brings people together and it's a holiday, but it's just a very effective marketing campaign. We could give each other gifts and spend time with family and have parties any day of the year. New Year's resolutions and this idea of resolutions are a very, very clever marketing campaign. But why does it hook us? Why does it hook us and why doesn't it work? I'm starting to see a couple of people here. So lacks the plan, says Rhonda. Rhonda, your hair looks fabulous right now. I'm just seeing you. It's straight and beautiful. So nice. Lacks a plan. Exactly. Okay, Chandra's saying the same thing, right? Doesn't have a plan on how to execute it. Annette, vague. Overwhelming is an important word. We're going to come back to that. Resolutions, Nicole, and the man behind her they're not baked into habits. Hi, guys. It's so good to see you. A lack of commitment, right? Hopes, wishes, prayers, and dreams are as a result. I want to be 10 pounds lighter. I want to make $1 million, right? These resolutions, all these things. Exactly. Just wishes. Exactly. Trendy, Shakima, that's a big one, right? I was having a conversation with a group of my girlfriends earlier this week, and we were talking about all these like beauty trends that I've totally bought into because I'm having stress that my eyes are getting more wrinkly and my jowls are getting more saggy, and I'm freaking out. But that's not who I am. And we had this whole conversation about how easy is it to get sucked up into all of these trends, these conversations, these ideas that we may not even actually agree with, but they're the common culture. So my belief is that New Year's resolutions are like a common cultural trend. They're not rooted in actual practice, and it's a false narrative. There is literally nothing different about any of us today and any of the businesses we run than yesterday. There is nothing different on January 1st than December 31st. The reason New Year's resolutions are so compelling is that it gives us the illusion of a fresh start. The reason a fresh start feels so exciting is that we want things to be easier. We want to arrive at a future state. We have dreams and goals and hopes and ambitions. And that's beautiful. That's the beautiful part of resolutions. It gives us the permission to say the things we want, to say the things we desire, to see a future state and to want it, to say it out loud. But that's what we should be living in every day of the year. What we want to take from resolutions is the permission to say what we want, the permission to imagine a future state and believe in it, believe it's possible. What we want to abandon from the concept of resolutions is the idea that like we're just going to say the thing on January 1st and then it's going to magically happen by December 31st, or that January 1st is the only day to say the thing we want, the future state. If we can take the energy of imagining a future state, saying what we want, and apply that every day, but then back it up with action and consistency and structure, then we can have it. So there's 3 reasons I hate New Year's resolutions. 1, it really is the equivalent of a hope, a wish, a prayer, a dream. It's a false hope. And a false hope leads to more disappointment, right? There's a stat that I read a couple of years ago that says the average New Year's resolution has been abandoned by January 17th and completely forgotten by February 21st until the next December, when it triggers shame and dismay, when we sit back and think, oh my God, this was going to be the year that I fill in the blank and I didn't do it. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm never going to get what I want. I'm never going to succeed, right? These things are so messy from a psychology point of view. They're so unproductive. A resolution is deeply unproductive. So that's the first thing. The second reason I hate resolutions and I really want us to abandon them is that my belief, and it is boring as all can be, I'm sorry, I wish I had a more fun message for all of us, is that real change happens with small actions every single day, forever and ever and ever and ever. And so this hope, this dream we have that we're going to have one big resolution and then make one big sweeping change, and this is going to be the year. It's a false hope. It's a silly idea because it is the opposite of what is actually required for long-term success. And then the third thing that I really don't like about resolutions is it pins us into this really, really, really unhelpful idea that on January 1st is the only day we get to dream and imagine what we want for ourselves. January 1st. We should be dreaming and imagining a future state every day of our life because that is the future that then gives us that little kernel of energy, that spark that we need to be consistent every single day. So ironically, I want us to forget resolutions. And also, I want us to take what's good about them and apply it every single day. We just need to abandon this idea that this is the time to be talking about those things. And the version that we want to be doing instead is having such a clear vision of what we want for ourselves that we can say it out loud, we can name it, we can feel good about it, we can, even if it's crazy, even if it's so far removed from our current reality, let's say the things we want. That future state is so beautifully helpful to imagine. And then every single day, let's figure out how to make sure we have a plan to get there and then the right structure and support wrapped around us. I'll tell you guys this one story, and then we'll talk about what it means to use the science of behavior change to shift from a resolution we never accomplish to a vision that we actually get to, okay? So what's the alternative to New Year's resolutions is what we're gonna talk about in a second. But the story I'll tell you is that this year, for the first time, I'm 43 years old, and for the first time in my life, I did not spend Christmas with my family of origin. I did not fly to Canada and spend time with my parents and my brothers and my family. And my partner and I, we just went to Mexico. We were on a beach in Tulum on Christmas Day, and I read a lot of books and I ate a lot of tacos and I did nothing for 8 days, which was delightful. But I find my clarity when I finally have space, right? Space is required in my mind for me to see my future state, to be able to realize my hopes and my wishes and my dreams. Because in my day-to-day, I'm so busy executing against the goals I've set that sometimes I don't zoom out and reimagine the future. And so when I have space, I always have new future dreams that emerge. The Silver Lining World Tour idea emerged because I took a 2-day vacation. Every time I take a vacation, something new happens. And some would argue that that means I can't turn off. I have a different point of view on that. I would argue that it's when I have enough space to imagine my future state, I can see it more clearly. And then because I am someone who is action-oriented and believes in behavior change science and understands how to accomplish what I want, I put it into action. So I sent an email, this is my story. So I sent an email to 15 of my friends and I was like, I really, really, I had cancer a couple of years ago. I had surgery. I work all the time in front of a Zoom 14 hours a day. Like I need one of my goals, one of my missions, not a resolution, something that I care about, something that is important to me in my life right now is to get back to feeling really well, not to be skinny or toned or lose 5 pounds, to feel good. I want to feel good again. I haven't felt as good as I know I can feel, and I miss it. I want that back. So what if we started a wellness club? And I had all these ideas for how we could hold each other accountable and make it fun and da 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 da. And 5 of my friends wrote back to me and said, "Oh my God, Carissa, you're on a beach. Just go relax. Stop it." And one of my friends wrote back and said, "I disagree with all of you and what you're saying to Carissa. Carissa gets joy and finds her relaxation when she moves a future state into action." And I was like, oh, that is probably one of the, it was one of the most profoundly accurate statements that I've had anyone ever say about me, because it wasn't me sitting on a beach feeling bad about myself. It wasn't me sitting on a beach setting up a resolution that I had some ridiculous idea around that I was never going to implement. But it was me imagining a future state, something I desire, something I want, something that is aligned to my values and aligned to my life, which is that I want to feel great. I want to wake up with energy in my body that feels great, in my mind that feels great. I want to be my fullest version of myself so that I can do what I'm here to do to my best capacity. It's in alignment with who I am and what I have to do and what I believe. And I want to actually do it. I don't want to hope and wish and pray. I don't want to have a New Year's resolution that I forget by February and then feel bad about in December. I want to action that future state. I want to move towards it intentionally. And I know how to do that. I say it out loud. I wrap structure and support around myself. I set a target and then I measure it regularly. And so I have a future state that I want, and then I move into action against it. And that is actually where joy comes from. That is actually where peace comes from. And that is actually deeply settling for our nervous system. So what is not helpful from a mental point of view, from a nervous system point of view, from a psychology point of view, is having a resolution and then having all the angst of the pressure of it and then the disappointment of it. But what is actually deeply satisfying from a nervous system point of view, from a psychology point of view, from a neural pathway point of view, from an alignment point of view, is when we set a future state, we see a future state, and then we put things into action. We align our behaviors to get to that outcome. That is the difference between a resolution versus a plan, an action plan, a movement towards a future state. So the psychology of this, of course, is what we've built Silver around completely, which is that there is no formula for success. But it is 1000% possible. I've said this a million times. I've bet my career on it. I've bet my life on it. It is 1000% possible to accomplish our goals. And this is the great myth of resolutions. It's taught us that we can't, that we won't, that it kind of doesn't matter to say we want something and then not do it. That's dangerous. I want us to be a group of people who say we want something and then put our actions into place to get it and then accomplish it. That in and of itself is an act of resistance. That in and of itself is anti-trend and anti-culture and anti this idea of being people who want things and then never accomplish them. That in and of itself is also anti-entrepreneurship culture. It's anti-hustle culture. It's actually about integrity and alignment. Are we going to be people who have a future state we want and then move into action against it? And what the behavior change science says about how we do that is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly simple and straightforward. One, we imagine a future state that is genuinely in alignment with our values. Okay, so let's talk about alignment first. So yes, we want to see that future state. Yes, we want to be excited by it. We should desire it. It should be something we yearn for. That's you feeling inadequate or feeling unsatisfied or if we are human beings who have ambition, we should always be slightly discontent, slightly yearning for more. That's Okay. That's not a bad trait in us as humans. That's something that fuels us. That's okay. So, what is that future state we desire? We should see it. We should want it. We should name it. Those are okay things to do. We should be slightly discontent that we don't have it. That's okay too. Not depressed, not ashamed, not embarrassed, not in a wheel of disaster, but slightly discontent. That's a good thing. Okay. Now, once we've got that future state, we need to double check our alignment. How do we know when we're in alignment? We come back to our values, right? My values in my life, my values at Silver Lining in my life are justice, global, responsible, others-oriented, audacious, fun. Small business first is the commitment that we make at Silver Lining, I make in my life. The impact I want to have in the world, my impact goal inside of my silver account is around justice, economic justice. I want to live in a world where everyone has an equal chance of success. That's the only right way that the world should be. So when I think about my future state, when I think about this example of me wanting to feel great in my body again, feel great and alive and full of vitality, what is a version of that that is in alignment with my values, right? My pop culture, society, wants me, and I fall into it, to feel sad about my jowls and wanting to solve my laugh lines and wanting to lose the 3 pounds around my stomach that I gained after my hysterectomy. Like that's what my instinct goes to when I think about what I want to be different. That has nothing to do with my values. What actually has everything to do with my values is that I have energy so that I can do hard work, that I feel great in my body. So when I show up in a room or when I show up with anyone, I can be present and not distracted by how I look or how I feel, that I feel comfortable and confident, that when I wake up in the morning, I am charged to do good, hard work during hard times, that my stamina matches my audacity. That's what wellness needs to mean for me. And I check myself when I get stuck in the trap of what society or standards want me to think wellness means to me. And that's why I'm creating this wellness club, because I need a check. I need outside voices to combat the ones where wellness could mean beauty, or wellness could mean vanity, or wellness could mean things that don't matter. So what is the future state you desire? And then have you checked it against your values? Is it in alignment? Because here's what's also true. I'm not actually shallow enough that I'm going to go change my whole life and implement an action plan to get my jowls to sag ever so slightly less. I don't actually care enough. It's not in alignment. I won't be able to move my behavior if it's not a future state that is genuinely aligned with my values. We're all too good for that. We're too smart for that. Thank God, right? Our true shifts, our true changes come when we're in alignment, not pursuing an outside idea, not pursuing what others say, but pursuing what is true for us. So yes, I want to feel well. Yes, I want to look and feel great. But why matters. I've got to do it in alignment with my values, what I'm here to do. Okay? So we imagine our future state. We check it against our values. We make sure we align that future state to our values so that the changes and the actions we create are coming from inside of us, not hoping and praying that there's some sort of an external magical power that's going to solve everything. Okay. Now, once we have an aligned future state, now we're ready to set a goal. One of the big mistakes we make with New Year's resolutions. I want to lose weight. I want to make more money. I want to change my relationship. I want to change my career. I want to change it. Okay, fine. That's okay, sure. Don't worry about the change. Imagine the future state. Get it on tiny vows. Now set a goal. I'm trying to figure out what my goal is for this future state that I'm imagining right now. What is that goal? Is it the number of days I wake up with energy? Is it blood markers that show that all my systems are working fully properly? I don't know yet. I'm trying to figure out how I set a goal that is aligned with my values and true to my outcome, my future state. But the goal, what is a good goal? We all know this from Silver. A goal is measurable. I will save $5,000. I will wake up feeling completely energized 6 days a week. I will fill in the blank, right? It is measurable. A good goal is time bound. I will do this thing by this day. It is measurable. It is time bound. Okay. Everyone, of course, sets a goal by December 31st, right? Maybe your goal can be done in 2 months. Maybe you need to do a sprint, not a marathon. Maybe it'll take 6 months. Maybe it'll take 5 years. Abandon the idea that a New Year's resolution is tied to this 1 year idea. What's the right time-bound time frame for this goal that you're setting? Okay, so it's measurable, it's time-bound, and as I always say, it lives somewhere between completely audacious and inspiring and crazy and outside of your comfort zone and seemingly impossible and completely reasonable and possible for you to accomplish, right? You don't want to have a goal that is so unmotivating and so boring and so reasonable. That's not going to get you excited. And you don't want to have a goal that is so completely unreasonable that you're guaranteed to fail, right? Good goals sit in between those goalposts, those literal goalposts, as I call them. Okay. I always use a hockey analogy when I talk about my goalposts, but I don't know that this crowd's ready for my hockey analogies. It's very Canadian of me as opposed to global. Okay. So we imagine a future state, one that we then fact check against our values. Is it truly ours? Or has it been influenced by pop culture, hype, entrepreneurship culture, media, ideas, outside factors? Is that future state coming from inside of us or from outside of us? Then we turn it into a goal. A goal is measurable. It is time-bound and is somewhere between completely audacious and completely possible. But it can't be so possible it's boring and so audacious it's impossible. It sits in the middle there somewhere. Okay? And then we build our action plan. And we design the series of steps that we need to take to get to that goal. What are the things that we need to do, right? And I really literally mean it might be a 5-step process, it might be a 100-step process, but there are going to be actions you have to take to accomplish your goal. And those actions are going to take time and money and energy. And when you build an exhaustive list of action items, my encouragement to you is build the longest list of action items you possibly can. Put every little detail on there and then look at it. How much time and how much money and how much energy are you going to have to spend to hit that goal? And then give yourself an out. Do you want it enough? Do you want that future state enough to work that hard, to spend that much time and that much energy and that much money? And if you do, let's go. But if you don't, maybe you don't want that future state that much. Maybe that's a great idea, but not actually what you want. Maybe that goal's not your highest priority right now. Something else is. You don't need a resolution. You don't need a new goal. Maybe what you're already working on is the thing. So you want to look at what the reality of what it takes is. One of the biggest mistakes that we all make as humans, and the reason that resolutions are so alluring, is it's so easy to say what we want. It's so hard to do what it takes to get it. And let's not be liars. Let's not say we want something that we're not prepared to invest enough to get. Let's just say we don't want it that much. It's such a relief. Maybe you've had a goal you've been holding on to that you don't really want. How do you know you don't really want it? Because you're probably not doing anything to get it. If you're not doing anything to get the thing you say you want, you probably don't want it that much. That's the honest answer. So look at that list. How much time and money and energy is this going to take? Do you want that future state enough to do those things? If that list is in alignment, if you can look at the reality of what it's going to take to get to the outcome that you have for yourself, now we're in business. Now we're ready to move against that future state. But if you are not, that's release the future state. That's not a failure. That's not a disaster. That's not you quitting. It's just you saying, no, actually, that's not the future state I care enough about. It's a different one. It's something else. And release it. Okay. Now, if you are in the place where you've got a future state, it's in line with your values, you've set a goal, you've looked at your action plan, you are prepared to invest what is required to get to the future state, The last component of how we get there is structure and support. This is the whole premise of Silver. We set the goal, we build the plan, but none of us. I am truly one of the most, some of you who have met me in person know, I am, even in my less well place that I feel like I'm in right now, I am energetic and I am a determined woman and I will do basically anything at any cost to get things done and to accomplish goals and to push to outcomes and to fight for our community and to, I am uniquely determined. I would say stubborn, all the whatever words you want to use. I have a mental fitness coach, a therapist, a business coach. I use Silver. I track my actions. I do calendar audits. I wrap structure and support around myself to optimize my chance of doing those actions to get to my outcomes. Every single one of us needs that. Structure and support is not a sign of weakness. Structure and support is strategic. It is science-based. There is a reason when we have a personal trainer, we lose more weight than when we don't. There is a reason when we join Weight Watchers, it works better than trying to just do random things on our own. There is a reason that when we have a money coach, we save more money than when we just say we're going to put $5 into a savings account every day and we don't do it. There is a reason these things work. It is a science-based reality that we as humans benefit from outside structure and support. It is how we optimize our performance. And so, what does that look like? A community of people trying to accomplish similar things. One-on-one individual coaching and support and accountability. The acceptance of feedback and collaboration and shared experience. Saying out loud when we win and having people cheer with us, and saying out loud when we fail like crazy, having someone be like, I have been there, I get it, let's keep going together. We cannot do change alone. That is a fact. We are very bad at it. We are poorly designed as humans to do change by ourselves. And so when we have a future state we believe in enough, and we know for sure it's aligned to our values, and we set that measurable time-bound goal, and then we build the action plan where we understand the time and the money and the energetic cost of getting there. Then we wrap structure and support. You say it out loud to as many people as you can. That's what when I have a goal that I really want to accomplish, I tell everybody what my goal is. Look at me in front of all of you talking about my wellness goals for this year. I just talk about it. Because then I don't want to be the loser that says things and doesn't do them. I don't want to be the person like, oh yeah, Carissa said this, but she didn't deliver. I want to be the person that delivers. I want to have social accountability. I want to hold myself to that standard of not being embarrassed in 6 months, but feeling excited that I can tell you I did it. So you tell everybody. You guys have heard me say this before, Post-it notes. When I have a goal that I'm determined to hit, I write it down 10 times. There's psychology to that. I will, right? You guys, I will do this thing by this date. I will do this thing by this date. I write it on 10 Post-it notes. I write it. Even the act of writing it down is powerful from a neural pathway point of view. And then one of the Post-it notes goes in my notebook. One goes by my teacup. One goes by my toothbrush. One goes by my bed. One goes in my wallet. I put those Post-it notes everywhere so that all day long as I live my life, I am reminding myself that I will do this thing by this date. I will do this thing by this date. I keep myself aligned over and over and over again in all these micro ways. And then I embrace accountability. I increase my number of one-on-one calls. If you have a goal you're serious about, do more calls with your Silver experts. Get more of that one-on-one support. I increase my community support. I say it out loud as often as I can. I invite feedback, shared experiences, shared successes, shared failures. I invite it. I have to become audacious about it. And so if you have a future state you believe in enough and a goal you want enough, you have to want it enough to win publicly and fail publicly. You have to want it enough to say it out loud and then suffer the burden of when it's not going well and exult in the camaraderie of having people to celebrate with you when it does. I'm going to tell you guys one last story, and then we're going to talk about this and we're going to apply it. So you get questions ready. I'm going to pick on some of you. We're going to start playing with this. But for the Silver experts that are in the room, all of you guys that are Silvers, you do one-on-one calls with the Silver experts. These are the heart and the soul of silver lining. The magical human beings that make silver lining what it is our silver experts. The humans that I admire and respect and am grateful for every minute of every day, who quite frankly are changing so many people's lives. It's an honor to witness our team. We put a lot of pressure on the silver experts. The silver experts in the room can also say that I have very high standards for the silver experts. I have very high standards for how we as a company show up for all of you. And I had the idea about 6 months ago to implement a leaderboard, a public leaderboard inside of Silver Lining that tracked all of our silver experts, how many small businesses they were helping, how well all of you were doing, not whether or not you liked the silver experts, whether or not all of you were succeeding. You were getting the right structure and support to succeed. And there was so much resistance to that leaderboard. That's mean, Carissa. That's tough. What if people are at the bottom of the leaderboard? They're going to feel so bad. And then the ones that don't have it inside of them to change and perform better will leave. And that's okay, because I don't want them on the phone with my small businesses. And the ones that are motivated to accomplish their goals and perform at a higher level and accomplish their future state will rise. They will get better. It will be the public accountability, the understanding of what it takes that will accomplish the goals. And so is it a little painful to say what you want and maybe not be there yet? Is it uncomfortable to imagine a future state and have to address current reality and see it, maybe even publicly? Sure. But for those of us who are serious, that is a requirement to get to the future state. And for those of us that are not serious, we will fall off. We will see the gap between reality and future state, and we'll buckle, we'll fall out. So this last part of that public accountability, it's not to be mean. It's not to shame. It's to challenge. It's to give clarity. And it's to say, how serious are we? When I see that I am not performing, I am telling you, I do not want to quit. I get mad and determined. I will double down. There is no better way to get me into action than to show me I am not accomplishing my goals. I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to be the person. Maybe it's not going to happen the way I want, when I want, how I want, but I will orient myself in the direction of that future state, and I will keep fighting until I figure it out. And it always takes a little longer than I want, and it never goes the way I plan, but we as a community can get there. There is science that says that that is true. So here's what I want us all to do. I'm going to put this in the chat. Columbo, if you can get the timer ready for 5 minutes, I am going to write this list down just here in the chat. Future state, alignment to values, okay, measurable goal, measurable and time-bound goal. Oops. I'm having a little trouble with my formatting, okay? Action plan with time, money, and energy required. Do you really want this? Gut check. I'm going to call it a reality check instead of a gut check. Reality check. Structure and support. Okay. So let's all take 5 minutes. Don't overthink it. Don't freak yourself out. Don't get into perfection mode. What is the future state you desire? It's not different than it was on December 31st. Just name it today on January 7th. We could name it on April 12th. We could name it on June 7th. This is not a resolution. It's the same work we should be doing every day of our life. What's the future state you desire? Is it in alignment with your values? How do you sort it out so that the version of your future state is aligned with who you are, not what society tells us we should be? How do you turn that into a measurable and time-bound goal? What actions would that realistically take? As real as you can be. What is the time and the money and the energy required to hit that goal? And then do you really want this? Do you want it enough? Maybe you want it, but do you want it enough to warrant all that time and money and energy? Is this something you want enough? Is the exchange right? Is the investment required equal to the reward you think you're going to get? Is this the right thing to pursue? Or is it actually a future state that's a nice idea, but not what you're here to accomplish? And then we build the structure and support in. What structure and support do you need?